very warm welcome to Moneycontrol presents Crypto Control in association with WazirX. And I'm your host, Ruchira Sharma. You can love it, you can hate it, but you definitely can't ignore it. We're talking about the most debated term these days, and that is cryptocurrency. The crypto market has grown exponentially in the last few years. However, cryptocurrency has been a constantly debated topic and a very controversial one right since its existence due to its volatility and constantly changing regulatory framework. The current landscape for crypto and digital assets continues to be fragmented and is constantly evolving, and that leads to speculation and confusion amongst investors. A crypto exchange also faces multiple challenges. Firstly, it has to navigate a space that is constantly evolving and also work within the framework of a regulation that is still to find its foothold in terms of policy and intent. And that is the topic for today's discussion: challenges of a continuously evolving regulation for cryptocurrency. And we have a great panel of industry experts here. So let me begin by introducing them. We have with us Mr. Gurinder Dus, blockchain and crypto advocate; Mr. Jenny Raheja, founder, the Explorers NFT Collection; Mr. Ajoy Pathak, training, research, and product development, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. He is also head of Crypto University; and Mr. Aritra Sarkil, Director, Public Policy, Government Affairs at WazirX. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining in. And let me begin with the first question. The burden to implement regulations is often shouldered by an exchange, and the central government has not agreed to set up a regulatory authority for investment in cryptocurrency in the country. The Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Pankaj Chaudhary, had said this in a written reply to a query. So, a formal regulatory body does exist for securities, commodity trade, and real estate. So, I'd like to begin with you, Mr. Gurinder. What is the current set of regulations that are really applicable to the trade in India?
As far as the regulations are concerned, we've been doing a lot of flip-flop for the last almost 4 years, as you just highlighted. Fundamentally, what I see is that our government is basically waiting for the American and largely the Western regulators to formalize their policy, and then it would like to fine tune its own policy so that there is little friction between the West, the US, Europe, and India largely. So that's the way I see it going.
All right. Mr. Jenny, what is your insight here?
So what we're seeing, honestly, is very similar to what Mr. Gurinder just mentioned, that what India is doing right now, we're being followers rather than leaders in the space, right? So we're seeing like whatever developments, we're just waiting and watching and trying to see what the rest of the world does, and then try to kind of piggyback of that and do something where we think we can slightly improve what the rest of them are doing. It's kind of flawed right now, because what's happening is, as a country, instead of taking a leadership role and helping the rest of our economy kind of catch up or leapfrog into Web3 and utilize the blockchain or utilize crypto, we're just kind of trying to see, okay, let's see what the world does, and we'll follow up on that with what we see fit. The biggest problem there is, again, when we talk about volatility, it comes out of news, and just with regulations just being so like up and down, and people in India not knowing what the next set of rules are going to look like, it creates a lot of like scare within the market and tries to drive people away from the industry rather than adopt it and kind of see where we can take it, in the right direction in the future.
All right. Great. Thank you for sharing that insight there, Mr. Jenny. Mr. Aritra, what is your insight here? What has been your experience here at WazirX?
You really wanted to tell you what's been happening at WazirX and the government. I would love to do that, but not on a public platform. I think a lot has happened. I would say for a lot of people, it might sound a little odd if I say I think these are much better days for the industry than what it was back in 2017-18. When we started off, 2018, 90% of exchanges and companies closed down in India overnight after the RBI ruling happened. We started this company, I think, a month or a few weeks before the RBI ban happened, and we had nothing to lose. We're like, boss, we've started it now. what is there to lose? Let's do it. Let's see what happens. So we faced a lot of heat. When I say we faced a lot of heat from various departments of the government, but then the largest Supreme Court ruling happened, and then the industry changed. And when I say changed, because a lot of investments happened in India from tier one venture capital companies into exchanges and other, blockchain based product companies in India. But in the last 1 year, 1.5 years specifically, apart from two things has happened, two things like two separate funnel incidents have happened. One, I think we all have a role to play in that. I mean, right or wrong. Saw a massive influx of folks who got into the exchange ecosystem, the buying and selling of tokens and NFTs and all of that. And a lot of it in India happened from tier three, tier four towns. And when that started happening, I remember a lot of certain departments of the government, especially law enforcement, the taxation, started taking interest on this. Ki, boss, what is it? What is it? What's happening? Why are people from Ludhiana and Punjab, or why are people from Patna suddenly creating accounts and exchanges like us and our friends who also run other exchanges? What's happening in India right now? So the interest was from a very different perspective, and also there were ads which were run. Now, when I say that, I don't still, and I honestly say this, I don't still think there is clarity on how the ecosystem works. We have tried our best in the last 3 years in terms of talking to every state government, every bureaucrat in central government. But I honestly don't think there is absolute clarity on, what, this is why this ecosystem, this industry is required. We even tried telling the government, this is a new industry called, say, X. And this is the amount of revenue the government of India can make from it. This is also the number of jobs which will be created on this. But for that, you need certain amount of regulations to help this industry scale, right? But that has not happened in two terms. Like, one was the taxation part, and the other was on the larger regulations. Now, when I say regulations, I just bring it down to just one word, and I think that's a very key item, because I still don't think there is proper differentiation between on even on the taxation start. And I'm not saying this. This is literally chats coming out of our discussions with Department of Revenue and other departments. Was how are we looking at NFTs and tokens? Like, are NFTs and tokens very different in terms of valuation and taxation and stuff like that, right? But at the core is this one word which I keep mentioning. At the core, it's about tokens and coins. I don't think the larger government is comfortable with the tokenization aspect of it. They're comfortable with the underlying tech, which is the code on which all of these things run, which is the blockchain. Various companies runs their own blockchain. But without the token economy, because you need to understand, investments today from even VCs happen through tokens. People want to invest in your company in tokens and take a percentage of token equity out of it, not those paper equity tokens anymore, the shares anymore, right? So that's a major change, and I don't think that thing happening that easily in India this soon. So I do agree with the other two gents who said, uh, if you look at our financial laws and whatever we have, a lot of it is also based on the United Kingdom's laws. We have taken a lot of stuff from UK, right? So honestly, I feel a little bad and also a little sad, because this was honestly a once in a life opportunity for India to lead, really lead. But we are still in India. We're still in India. We're still in Maharashtra. The company is still in Maharashtra. But if I do 10 startup pitches a day, 10, nobody tells, the last 6 months, nobody has told me they want to register the company in India. For whatever reasons, they're all going outside. Please understand that is revenue loss for the government in general. And that's because of basic things like these. Like, you have to allow legalization of tokens in India. So, but yeah.
I'd like to.
Very, very important points there. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Tell me.
Yeah. So, it's like very easy for us to look at the micro aspects of people trading and, the regulatory handicaps and things like that. But at the larger government level, if you see, the there are two aspects to this whole evolution which is happening in this space. One is the monetary aspect, where the let's say the wholesale CBDC kind of a thing comes in, where it's about money flowing between countries. Okay,
Yeah.
so there in aspects like that, then what the global view is, you need to come to some kind of a agreement on that, and that takes time. Okay, so the, and the second aspect is the technological aspect. So there, I would agree that the focus is more on financial irregularities or financial handicaps, something like that, but not on the core technology. What is it? It's not the tokens. It's the what is the whole concept behind the tokens? What is the technology behind the tokens? What are these tokens actually doing? Okay, that kind of interest is just lacking totally.
All right. Definitely. A well designed cryptocurrency regulation has to be implemented at the earliest to leverage the opportunities, like Mr. Aritra pointed out, that crypto actually offers to the country at large. But I'd like to bring you in, Mr. Ajoy. What are the major developments that you are seeing currently or you expect in the near future in the crypto space?
One of the biggest developments that I have been closely tracking is opening of acceptance towards crypto from various jurisdictions coming in, which is very encouraging all through. So lot of jurisdictions are coming in, setting up their first phase of jurisdictions or regulations in place, and then by following it with updates and things like that, whatever is going on in their country. India is pretty slow to catch up with. We have some, uh, forced taxing rules that has been implemented, which has successfully destroyed the cryptocurrency markets, uh, and not really regulated as of yet. But definitely, we are on a learning curve, and I believe that it should really help all of us, come up with an good approach, a comprehensive regulation. Now, again, in my honest opinion, I fully agree with what Mr. Dua, Aritra, and Zenith has
Jenny.
been saying, is that America, we are following the Americans. We're waiting for them to do something, and things have been really difficult for the Indian cryptocurrency stage till this point of time. But what I see from their reaction, or whatever I have been reading about them and following them very closely, is that I find that they are trying to force fit cryptocurrencies into any of the existing regulatory systems that is there. So we have something for currencies, we have something for securities, we have something for commodities and other stuff, and they are trying to force fit cryptocurrencies into that domain,
Mhm.
which is, I think, the fundamental mistake that they are creating over here, because cryptocurrencies are representing something entirely different out here rather than
Absolutely.
any of these you know specific asset classes. It should be a comprehensive policy for a totally different asset class, which has got a financial layer to it and also a technological layer to it. And that is what it should be.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Ajoy, for that. So clearly, the foundation of a crypto market is actually laid on hope that soon there needs to be a proper regulatory framework for crypto in the country. Mr. Jennifer, I'd like to bring you in here. The evolving landscape and the regulation can be described as challenging and exciting for cryptocurrency exchanges. But according to you, what are the major challenges that they face, and how do they really navigate through these challenges?
So I feel like there are a lot of different layers to that question, but I feel like fundamentally what India or people in India or the government, wherever we look at, needs to focus on right now is education, right? Because I feel like a lot of the scare of fear or uncertainty is coming from the uncertainty because we do not understand the underlying technology or the financial models that come with it. So the government also, I think from a government standpoint, just taking a step back and understanding, okay, this is the blockchain, this is cryptography, and this is how they two kind of fit in. Gurinder just mentioned earlier that it's about the tech and the finance. What is so great about the blockchain is how seamlessly they two can integrate and work together. And the kind of opportunities that they open up for India to the rest of the world is immense. And if we educate, take that effort to educate ourselves a bit more, what we can build through that is great, right? So like that should be the focus. I feel like just across the market, at an individual level, at a company level, at a government level, is to educate yourself and see what this technology means and where we can go with it to leapfrog, right? Like it was mentioned earlier, we are seeing a lot of movement in tier 2, 3, 4 cities, which is insane. Like you're calling people in Bihar and Assam who are like working on the tech end of it and outsourcing for some company in Portugal or in America or in the UK, and the opportunities that they're getting access to is something they've never had before. And that's why I think on a fundamental level, if we ask ourselves that in the next decade, do we see ourselves living in a world that is more digital and more borderless? And if yes, then don't we need a financial system that kind of works into that framework? Instead of just fitting this into a pre-existing model or pre-existing regulations that we have, isn't it time to educate ourselves and take a step back and see how we can improve and move forward in a better way? And like any panelist here will tell you, like regulation is good. Like everyone here is asking for regulation. We're just saying don't kill the market while regulating it.
Definitely.
I agree with Zanin. I mean, just to add to that point, if I may, please.
Sure.
See what it has actually done, and Aritra has also been following these markets from 2016-17, I guess. Every time the regulators are they issued their concern about the volatility into the market and uncertainty into the market and how to safeguard the investors. Now you don't safeguard the investor by not letting them participate and making the volumes thin. That kind of adds to the shady interest more. I mean, the shady interest gets a more prominence than honest interest, like an exchange coming up and making an even an exchange is a self-regulatory regulated organization. It will not like to draw any flag. But what you're doing out here is you're always cutting down. You're coming up with announcements and policies which is cutting down on the true volume of people participating into this, which actually is increasing a lot of speculative interest into the market. So that the speculative volatility is kind of being introduced by the current policies that are being taken. On the state. Instead of that, I think honest participation should be somehow encouraged by the real blockchain industry being able to participate into the tokenized format, and that's what it is.
Sure. Mr. Aritra, I'd like to just come to you here because you've been in the eye of the storm, literally, from an outright ban, which you just mentioned while you were starting WazirX, to the regulation bill, and then the government stance recently. It has all changed considerably over the past few years, and you face multiple challenges, as you mentioned. So, how did you really navigate through these challenges, and what do you want the way forward to be like?
Navigate. I mean, I don't think navigation was in our hands. I mean, honestly, we used to wake up, look at Twitter, go to government offices every day, request them. There have been times that we have not been. I mean, those are the bad days when nobody wanted to talk to us. Like, oh, these are crypto people. Oh, these are the crypto bros crowd.
Regulated market.
All a fuzzy ecosystem, right? We don't want to talk to you. But listen, you go knock on the same door for 20 times, they will eventually talk to you. They will eventually listen. Because unlike a lot of industries, and I always give parallels to what happened with the drone industry. You saw how the drone laws were completely changed in India in a manner of 6 to 7 months. That is unparalleled in the history of this in this country. So good things do happen, but how we navigated, honestly, we looked at ourselves, like, where are we going wrong, right? And I'll give you an example. Like, we were also doing ads. We were also doing ads like Bitcoin, Lelo, buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, and we realized, why are we doing this? We are on the back end. We are going and talking to every department of the government, every possible lawyer, every other countries, and what they are doing, trying to learn from their bureaucratic structures. And we were doing something wrong, so we stopped ads. That's how we started changing things little by little, and then eventually we realized one of the things that we were also doing was there were only exchanges who were approaching the government, right? There were only crypto exchanges like BD exchanges who were approaching the government, who were talking to the government, who were there in the room. So for a long time, I believe the government, this is my personal view, the long time, I think they thought crypto is equal to a Web3, whatever, blockchain is equal to just this ecosystem, which is not true, right? And that's when we realized, listen, where are the other actual Web3 product startups? Where are the other NFT startups? Where are the other protocol layer companies? I mean, there is one Polygon. Where are the Solanas of the world, the Nears of the world, the Ethereums of the world, right? There's so many of them, right? Where are those kind of companies? Where are DeFi companies? So what we eventually realized the last 1 year, one of the good things we did was we figured out and we went and talked to every such company in India, especially in India, not the global ones. And we said, you're trying to build something similar to Ethereum or Solana or even say Near protocol, you come with us. You're trying to build something like, say, a Uniswap, you come with us. When I say come with us, the come with us means we get all of them in a room and we try and get a meeting at least once in a month to either the Department of Revenue or the larger RBI or the Prime Minister's office or even the state IT office and say, listen, this kid is from your state. He's 16 years of age or 18 years of age. He's built something on an open source tech, and his customers are across the world. Boss, who's going to benefit out of this, right? So these are some of the things we did. And the other thing that we did, not only when I say we is the larger the body that we work with, right? We realize, as somebody mentioned, education. So the problem with this ecosystem is it's very dispersed. Is every 2 weeks you're seeing new things being rolled out, new tech players funnels being rolled out, right? New variations of NFTs being rolled out, right? How do you build an education platform on based on this, right? So we realized there's another angle we saw in India, especially in tier 2, tier 3 towns. If you do not give them a certificate, if you do not give them a degree, they will not eventually, the larger masses do not take you seriously if you're trying to do something in education, because for them a degree is important from the status games point of view, right? You know what we did? We went to UGC. It was a battle. We went to a couple of units. Everybody said no to us. Every tier 1 engineering college said no to us. Few of them agreed. You build the course for us. It was like a end-to-end tech, non-tech course that we built with one of the universities in Uttarakhand who opened up to this. And UGC backed us. And then we started doing online and physical courses for crypto and Web3 in India. And eventually they were getting a government-backed certificate on top of it. That got a lot of these. And there, at least I know 20 of them who came out of that course and have actually built companies, and we funded. So these are some of the things.
All right.
Yeah. These are some of the things we have done. But it's, I said, I think crypto is not a single country game. If you have to understand how the tech works, right, it has to be a cross country, it has to be inter-country collaboration. If you see things like what Quad does, right, India, Japan, and few other countries, the discussion has to happen at that level. Is it happening right now? No. Does it need to happen? Yes. Otherwise, we're going to see another Silicon Valley being created somewhere else. I mean it with all respect, but it might eventually happen. Estonia has lost. So yeah,
Yes.
but yeah.
Great. Those are some remarkable achievements there. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to bring you in, Mr. Gurinder. Cryptocurrencies and the underlying blockchain technology, as all our panelists have mentioned, is a pervasive force in the global economy. So SEBI's primary functions, of course, include just protecting investor interests, promoting Indian security markets. But is the lack of regulation helping or harming volumes? What is your insight here?
Yeah, so see, two things. One, the regulators, you must understand that this is a new technology, and regulators globally, always, with every new technology, have always been behind the curve. Okay, so initially, it is all a lot of experimentation which is happening. Okay, and that is the same thing which is happening with the blockchain technology, with Web3, with crypto, with everything. Okay, and incidentally, that is also the reason why there is so much volatility. Okay, you take the example of, for instance, Amazon. Amazon from 98, it went down 95% in price. Okay, and not once, but at least 4 times over the next 4-5 years before the prices stabilized. Okay, so any new technology, and especially this, there will be volatility. There will be issues of which technology succeeds, which fails. Okay, like the lunar debacle which just happened. Okay, it is experiment. That experiment failed. Of how a certain form of stabilization of stable coin doesn't work. Okay, and there was a loss of 30-40 billion dollars there. Now those things will happen and need to be accepted as par for the course, and you need to then build regulations accordingly.
All right. Sure. Mr. Ajoy, would you like to share some statistics about the trade as such, and if there are any investor favorites, really?
So, what I've been reading in popular news media is that after this taxes has been implemented, there has been 60-70% drop in the trading volumes in Indian cryptocurrency exchanges, and we are seeing even some of the investors, some of the innovators, they are also moving out of the country now. they were like helping the ecosystem out here, but they're kind of tired waiting. I mean, I really appreciate Aritra and his team that from 2016 they have been knocking doors. What you need to navigate in this is patience and persistence, but somehow a much helping ecosystem is building up, which is what is Dubai is. And at certain point of time people also need to get encouragement for their efforts. So obviously we are seeing a lot of interest moving out currently, and the way things are going, Ruchira, I'm very much of the opinion that obviously this at this juncture today, when the entire economy has been expecting a very solid stand or a very solid foot forward, encouraged by what we saw our finance minister talking about taking a calibrated approach towards this entire ecosystem and things like that, we were very hopeful. We were very positive about the kind of regulations that would be coming. But what was doled out to us was, I mean, pretty much, nothing actually, really, and that's what is really harming the markets today.
All right. Mr. Jenny, would you like to come in here and share some stats or what are the investor favorites?
So I just actually want to touch on a few things, right? Like conceptually, like even like NFTs, I think we've not mentioned or spoken about, but
We were just coming to that. That is the next question.
yeah,
But
so essentially, like what the point is, I feel like just with government uncertainty and all of that, like one of the biggest terms we have in this industry is FUD, right? Like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So like when we see all of these kind of policies and changes, it just adds to all of that FUD and gets people a bit more on edge, right? Like so, like the trading volumes make complete sense because if you don't know what the government's going to do to the place you're putting your money in, you'd rather not put your money there, which is kind of what's happening right now here. The other thing again, like it's like saying it, when the stock market started off early on, saying that investing in companies is risky because a lot of the companies will fail. Yes, they will, but do you just not allow people to invest in it, or do you kind of give them disclaimers, or like educate them about the risks that they're taking on,
yes.
and let them make an educated call? So I feel like here again, it needs to be a similar kind of approach. Like we know we are behind on regulation in terms of where the tech is, but the similar approach needs to be put in where we educate people of the risk. We like inform them of it and let them make an educated call at the end of it. And yeah, a lot of things that Aditya also mentioned, like with open source technology, right? Like people need to understand what the benefits of just creating technology that is open source, where a lot more people can build and ideate and innovate on top of that technology is. With tokens, the way we view tokens, like we think it's money, but we need to see what that resembles and how that can be beneficial to different segments and industries. And yeah, so I just feel like it's that on the whole. And obviously with NFTs, like just understanding digital assets and what the future can be, where you can own an asset digitally, is something that we all need to be thinking about.
Definitely. So you spoke about tokenization, and let's try and understand how is it really applicable to the current dynamic market landscape, the NFTs, and the authentication system. Mr. Gurinder, would you like to share some insights here?
Yeah, so when we're talking of things like NFTs, okay, what is an NFT? NFT is nothing more than just an address on the blockchain. Okay, it's nothing more than that. It's just a pointer to something which is unique. Okay, now NFTs is not these paintings and pictures, and these are all evolutionary things. The major thing which, let's say, an NFT can do tomorrow is probably identity, digital identity, uniqueness, digital uniqueness to everything. Okay, it's digital property rights. That is what an NFT is, and those are the kind of things which evolve over a period of time. Okay, so I don't think we should get restless about these things. They will evolve. These are not the things which will happen in 6 months. These are things which will take decades.
So sorry, I just want to jump in there. So like I know there's a lot of talk about digital identity with NFTs, and it's going to be who we are digitally, and we talk about it in that aspect. While that is true, it is one application of NFTs. On a base layer, an NFT is a way to own an asset digitally, right? Like today, when you look at a lot of problems we have in India, just think of ownership issues that we face, right? Coming from a real estate background, I can tell you the biggest challenge we face with real estate is title. Now, today, if everyone's land title or ownership was given to them as an NFT, it means that it's like today when I own a property. My registration of that property is stored on a central government server that the government has access to. Today, if God forbid something were to happen to that, or someone were to tamper with it or change it, they have that control through that one system to kind of go in and alter it. And my ownership can be taken away from me, right? As an NFT, when I own it, that ownership lies with me. And unless I confirm or transfer that into another wallet, no one can take it from me. So that whole concept of digitally owning something is something of immense value to our economy and the world in general. And today, as we are building more and more of a digital life, right? Like whether we look at our Instagram profiles or anything that we're available on social media, the amount of time we spend digitally is increasing. So even digital assets, right? Like owning something that you can probably wear in a digital situation, like on an Instagram or a Facebook, whether it's a filter or whatever, has value to it. Things like luxury items, right? Like how do you differentiate between a fake Rolex versus a real Rolex, right? Like if all of it was owned as an NFT, A, you can identify what's authentic. B, if someone were to steal your watch and try to sell it, they cannot sell it because they do not have ownership of that asset.
And can I just add a few things in this very much context that we have been talking about, what Gurinder and Zenith just talked about. See, again, one of the biggest problems where these tokens do come and play is the rate of asset monetization that we have currently in our system. If you look at capacity utilization of the assets, that's pretty low, and tokenization can really tokenize those assets and build a larger base and create a larger asset monetization case for the entire economy. Now, connected to the regulatory part of it, okay, if the country goes ahead and promotes this ecosystem, it stands to gain more out of the licenses and revenues that it will be creating for the people out there, rather than taking an draconian approach towards cryptocurrencies, that cryptocurrencies are bad and imposing like 30% taxes and other things out here. So somewhere I think some kind of an idea about how this can be very much beneficial to the specific industry usages like real estate or any other industry case has to be understood, has to be appreciated, and a regulatory framework has to be provided so that that ecosystem develops around it, business develop, people gain, and then pay taxes out of it, rather than just doing nothing to develop that particular ecosystem and coming and saying, okay, I'm the government, I have a claim to tax, so here I come and ask for my cut. It's a Shylock's approach. It should not be Shylock's approach.
Yes. I'd like to bring you in, Mr. Aditya. The question is, all this is very pertinent from the viewpoint that cryptocurrencies are actually designed to function with distributed ledgers, and they discourage centralization, while regulators are focused on consumer and investor protections across cybersecurity, data privacy, market volatility. So, my question to you is, what are the issues that you really face as a cryptocurrency exchange, and how do you really ensure that investor confidence stays, and it doesn't dissipate?
Issues. I mean, I have printouts in the other room, the storeroom. The printouts that we have sent to the government in the last 2 years.
How do you maintain investor confidence? How do you really
But no issues. Okay, I'll just break it down into three. One is the TDS and the taxation layers which have been put on. Tax is important. That's how it's very important for governments to run for a country like us. But the tax measures have so far completely driven off liquidity of the markets completely. And come 1st of July, when TDS hits, liquidity of most exchanges in India is going to go down. We are already down 70% in our volumes. We used to do close to $43 billion in volumes last year. It has gone down to under 10 million now. So that's how bad it is. Taxation is one, and I'll tell you why taxation is one. And there's another part to taxation. Currently, you have you as a company and all the other folks over here. You all have companies. You pay taxes, right? There is a process to it. There is a compliance process to it that the government has created for you folks, for all of us, right? To pay GST, whatever income tax. Such kind of a standard procedure, compliance procedure, still does not exist for companies like us. And we are this is 20th of June, right? So that becomes a problem because we internally have to build a product now. All companies have to build tax products to make this happen, right? And products don't happen. Product releases for such a massive user set doesn't happen in 2 weeks. That's one. Second, the complete lack of what is a crypto in India. It's still not legally defined properly. The finance bill has an aspect out of it, but we still don't have a bill. So because of that, what happens? It drives off new entrepreneurs. It drives off investments away from this country. For example, Polygon, 450 mil plus got invested. Money did not come to India. Please, that money never came to India. It's all outside, right? These investments are not coming to India. Second, third, uh, um, the developers the product manager building these new companies, they're looking at outside jurisdictions which are allowing such companies to even set up. Like Wyoming is a state in the US. It allows DAOs to set up over there. Legally, you can set up a decentralized autonomous organization. You can't do that in India, right? But coming back to the exchange part, taxation is one. Second is procedure for listing of tokens. You have a procedure for listing of your company shares and all on NSE and all of that, right? That procedure is still not there because the larger bill is not there, right? Third, I would say is, this might sound funny, but we have faced the brunt of it legally also. Is there are a lot? India has a lot of capital flight rules, right? FEMA and all of that, and so there are still no rules which explain if say Aritra and say Ruchira brings 10 bitcoins into India in a private wallet, but they've legally done that. They've legally paid their taxes in Singapore and they've brought those 10 bitcoins in India. What is the procedure of putting it up? And you say put it up on WazirX or any other platform. It is part of it can still be considered money laundering, right? Because you might exceed the 250K limit and stuff like that. So stuff like this still has a lot of problems. And the last is listing of tokens. Companies are not listing tokens in India. And think of it this way: say if five of us have a company and we're doing an IPO, we know there are rules for the IPO. We'll go to whatever NSE, BSE, we list it out, right? But these blockchain-based companies, because of how the tech and the economics work, they launch tokens and they give their employees tokens in place of shares, right? But where do they launch their tokens? Now, if you're an Indian company and they launch their tokens somewhere in Southeast Asia, and there is a money up and down which happens, capital up and down which happens, that's still considered money laundering in this country, by the way. So these are honest practical challenge people are facing. And lastly, I don't think it's a challenge. It's
How do you maintain investor confidence as you navigate through these challenges?
we're very blunt, we're very honest. As I told you, it's been a bad quarter for us. It's been a very bad quarter for us. As I gave you the numbers, I mean, I have nothing to hide. We've been very vocal about our numbers. 43 billion reduces to 10 million volume. That's a lot of revenue gone for you, right?
It's a lot of pain.
That's a lot of pain. So investor confidence, we have been, all we say go out there is like, listen, and the last, and the very, and oh, how did I forget this? We don't have banking partnerships in place. Go and talk to any large exchange in India. Nobody gives them banks. No bank gives them support. No payment aggregator gives them support. Although the RBI rule clearly said that you can't do this. It's contempt of court if you're doing such things like that. But we don't have support. So today we exist on P2P. P2P is why WazirX became big in India. But you can only survive so much in a market like this by doing P2P, right? So banking partnerships are not there. While so many things are happening, we still go out there. We talk about, I mean, in as simple way as possible. This is why tokens, this is why crypto and blockchain are important, which is why this economy is important. You can still trade, but yes, you will face a lot of taxation going on. So that's the least we do. Nothing. Let's see where it goes from.
All right. So just before we wrap up on this discussion, given, of course, you shared multiple challenges that you are navigating through, and that is truly an amazing journey there, and remarkable numbers also. Going forward, clearly a well-designed cryptocurrency regulation needs to be implemented at the earliest to encourage crypto-based innovation and utilize the efficiencies. But you're all experts here, so if you could tell us, according to you, what would be the ideal future of crypto trade in India? Starting with you, Mr. Gurinder.
All I'd say is we need to be very careful when we are doing all this. Framing rules and all is fine, but let's say you create an NFT on a blockchain platform, and that blockchain platform itself goes to zero, like it happened with Luna. then what happens? So there is a lot of experimentation which is still to happen. We don't need to push the regulators into regulating so fast. Let's take our time over it.
Mr. Jenny, what is
So
your
I feel
insight?
like the number one, it's too early to say what kind of regulation we need, but I feel like a few things, like we need the government to just encourage innovation, right? Like just encourage
Yeah.
people to get educated and promote that kind of don't look at the person who's doing crypto as someone who's doing something wrong, or make them
Mm,
feel like they're doing something wrong by investing in crypto. Which is number one. Number two, I feel like we need to just be very aware of avoiding brain drain from our country. We need to avoid all of these people who are working in this industry from just leaving flat out and going to a Dubai or wherever else. Um, and I think that is the fear that comes in with kind of following the US. We have, for the first time in history, seeing a lot of people leave the US to go to other countries because they are not having a very favorable environment there either. So I just feel like encouraging the system is very important, and educating everyone is important. And hopefully creating a future like where India can be a part and have a seat at this table that is forming with the whole digital economy that is going to come, right? Because the worst situation is that India is just lagging behind again, like we did on Web 2, and the rest of the world moves ahead. And then again, we are the guys just contracting or consulting or working for all of these companies.
all right. Great. Mr. Aritra, what is your insight here? What is the ideal future?
I'm greedy. I want everything. All of the problems I stated, I want all of them to be solved by the government of India. But that doesn't happen. I don't know what's an ideal future like, honestly. But at the very basic, I think I'll say something which has purely come out of, because we were not doing things like this, man. We were product guys. We were product builders before this. We did it because we genuinely believed, boss, in our lifetime we have not seen something like that, and we didn't create it. I didn't create it. This, all of it came from a single white paper of a group of people who call themselves whoever, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever. Please understand, this multi-billion-dollar industry got created of a single white paper. That's how fascinating and how madly fascinating this industry is. Media will get impacted, everybody gets impacted in the right way. So for me, the change is this: I think we need lateral entry of folks who understand particular technologies into the government, every government. We need bureaucrats make these laws. Ministers,
Yeah.
parties will remain in power. Now a new party will come in power, I don't know. But bureaucrats will remain in power for the next 30, 40 years. There's somebody, you need lateral entry of, say, some of us over there who build something in this, who
Build the model.
collaborate on the state level or the central level and tell them, boss, this is not what it is.
What
This is
works?
not
Yes.
a fudgy scheme. This is what an NFT is. This is how the code runs. That one. And secondly, I genuinely think something needs to be done from the government side to encourage ecosystem building in India. It's not happening. Trust me, it's not happening. There is a reason every company, forget Web3, every company set up bases in Singapore. Even Web2 companies have a base in Singapore, they have a base in India, they have a base in Dubai, they have a base in Delaware, right? Why?
Hmm.
We These are small changes. I'm not complaining here. These are small changes. If you do that, trust me, this is a great time, because
Great
if you look at
opportunity.
geopolitics, it's a very interesting time for India to be in. We capitalize on this. It's a win-win game for our country for the next 20, 30 years. So
Definitely. Mr. Joy, your closing comments.
I think the government should start using the blockchain technology first,
Mm.
make its life much more better than what it is presently. Integrate the digital identity system like Aadhaar card or the UPI system payments, or even practice some of the welfare activities like public distribution system or procurement systems and other things, land registries and other stuff. Put it on blockchain. Put it on an government national blockchain. You start using it, and then you will understand that what innovation you can support from there, and then you will regulate it much better. So start using it first. You'll understand it. When you're using it, you'll understand it, and then you will know how to regulate it. Just don't think crypto means cryptocurrencies. The tokens are there for incentivizing decentralization. Please try and understand this. Decentralization is necessary because over 140 million people in your country, it's getting larger and larger. Transactions are getting like micro transactions are coming in, and it's huge volume. You cannot handle that with some infrastructure over here. So first you need to revamp your infrastructure, and blockchain is the way. Do that, start using it, then revamp your regulations according to the systems and processes that you are building in, and then let people innovate and participate. I think that's the best way forward. And
Oh,
for a value exchange, build a exchange in which price discovery happens, in which liquidity proliferates. because only then you will be able to connect or discover the actual value which is being added by different innovations, different initiatives into this whole place. I think that's an ideal future.
All right. And just one sentence each from all of you. What is the advice that you'd like to give our viewers? We talk about shaking customer confidence, shaking investor confidence. So, what is the kind of advice you'd like to give as experts, a winning mantra or a strategy, while they're making investments or while they're navigating through the crypto framework?
So I think like the number one thing which I keep saying is forget everything. Just spend time yourself educating yourself. Read up, read the news, and just understand. Right? Like, don't invest in something just because you heard some 10 people say, "Hey, I'm putting some money in this token or this coin, or I think this is gonna happen." That's not financial advice. You need to do your own research. Like that's one of the biggest mantras in the industry is like do your own research, study it yourself, and then figure out what you want to be involved in and what you don't want to be involved with.
All right. All right. Mr. Gurinder, one winning strategy for investors.
Yeah, the government shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathtub.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Aritra?
I honestly believe I get called out by even government folks for this. If you don't have the freedom to transact, you have no constitutional rights. That's one. That's why ownership of key is very critical. Second, since we're just talking to a set of investors and stuff like that, please do your research, man. This is same with mutual funds. This is same with stocks. Please do your research. Please do read the white papers. Yes, there are fudgy coins and tokens in the world today. I'm not denying that. So please do your research. Don't put your life earnings and don't take loans and base your investments, token investments on some random Telegram group chats. People do that. It scares me. Don't do that. Read, research, look at the team portfolio, look at the what value is this particular blockchain company is going to give. Similar thing to what happened with Ethereum, right? Please don't research before investing, and please don't take loans for invest. Please don't do that. People do that, I get scared, but no. So, yeah.
Great. And Mr. Rajoy, this one
So,
winning mantra.
great advices from everyone. What I just like to add to whatever others have said. I mean, those things are very much essential. Along with that, I'd like to just add one more thing: is that please understand that decentralized economics, the economics of decentralization, is much more efficient than the economics of centralized systems that we have been a part of, or the legacy systems that we have been a part of till now. At the end of the day, when the dust settles down, when clarity comes down, obviously this is going to be a clear winner, and that was what Satoshi Nakamoto's paper was earlier.
All right.
Now, for that, obviously, two navigating tools: patience, persistence, that you need to carry with you, and that's it. All the best. I hope this
All right.
cycle, sees a horizon sooner.
So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Clearly, we need to develop a robust and responsible framework to nurture the growth of a lucrative crypto-based economy going forward. So thank you for sharing your insights, and thank you to our audience for tuning in.